So there's not that constant movement. What happened?
Ahoy and welcome to the Dailey-Lumber Spoilercast episode 3. This time we're going to talk about Ratchet and Clank, A Rift Apart. How are you doing, Sir Lumber?
Oh, just fantastic.
Good to
How are
hear.
you?
I'm great. Just up front, I'm going to let you know we have Sir Lumber is coming in through a temporal vortex. His webcam and the voice, something's going on. We're going to blame it on Discord because it's the easiest thing to do. But
Not my crappy internet.
it's not going to let us stop this wonderful conversation we're going to have.
Absolutely not.
So just first things first, while we're not planning on talking about like the story super heavily because it's not like a super heavy story game, there's nothing's off the table. If we spoil, like we will talk about some stuff that will spoil stuff. So if you haven't played the game,
it's in the title of the video.
Exactly.
It's a spoiler cast.
Exactly. So if you're worried about seeing that, I would advise you now to not hear about how Ratchet dies at the end. But that was a lie. But anyway, I figured we start off.
Or was it?
Or was it? We start off with the classic. What is your history with Ratchet and Clank?
Oh, I'm sure I've mentioned it on the podcast before. We'll go way back with this series. First Ratchet and Clank game I ever played. My old college buddy, Flax. First game I ever played was Ratchet and Clank Going Commando on the PlayStation 2. It was right when it was the first game I had with the PlayStation 2, and I had these really bad like miniature for some reason, like wireless like blue controllers. It was really bad. It's probably one of the worst ways to play the game, but the game itself was fantastic. And I've played not quite all of them, but most of the games since then. So yeah, I was really excited for this one, and it's definitely a showcase for the PS5, more so than any other game I'd say before it. So this was a good one.
Now, what is worse, playing that Ratchet game with a controller or playing Smash Bros with a single Joy-Con?
Oh, I don't know that I've ever played Smash Bros with a single Joy-Con. I played Smash Bros with like a Wii remote, and I've played it with a 2DS before. That's the high level stuff.
Yep.
I'd probably say Smash with a single Joy-Con. I was younger then. I had smaller hands, so like these miniature wireless controllers were okay, I guess. They were just not very good.
When I was younger, my hands were much larger. It was very strange.
Right. So they were just like the same size as they were now, but you were just like smaller.
They were larger. My hands were much larger.
They shrunk.
Yes, they shrunk down to a normal adult man size.
Right.
As far as my history with Ratchet, really my only real experience is I think he was in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Used to main him back in my tournament days. Then I discovered him and I decided I'd play some of his other games.
You're like, oh, what's this guy from? He's in this like outstanding 10 out of 10 game, fighter game. Exactly. He must be from something else.
Tentpole of the series, honestly. Yeah. No, but all things serious, whatever. Crack in Time on the PS3 is my first Ratchet game, because I was always like a Nintendo child, and then I got a PS3 in middle school, I guess, and I remember specifically I wanted Little Big Planet for the PS3, and I got Little Big Planet, and the PS3 came with Ratchet and Clank Crack in Time, and I did not care at all. I put that game on the shelf. I played Little Big Planet for like a month, and then I was like, I guess I'll try this other game. And I immediately was like in love with it. Crack in Time is one of my favorite games ever. I've since gone back and played some other Ratchet and Clank. I haven't played all of the PS2 games just because they're not all easily accessible.
No, they're not.
But I've played a handful of Ratchet games, and I've enjoyed all of them. I've played every new Ratchet. Yeah. So since Crack in Time, I've played all the PS3 games and all the PS4 games, all the spin-offs on the PS3, and obviously now A Rift Apart.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yep. I think we should talk about one of the things that Ratchet's known for first, and that is the guns. I think the guns are a fun thing to talk about.
Yeah.
the weapons gallery in Ratchet's like always like a staple. Like there's gonna be fun weapons. Whether there's always like there's like 3 categories. There's like the fun weapons that are just goofy fun. There's the good weapons that are just like a rocket that's really strong. And then like they always kind of tend to merge in the middle for like the super upgrades, like the last things you get.
Right.
This game's no exception. That you have your goofy gimmicky weapons, and you've got your just solid, gameplay weapons.
Yeah.
Do you have a?
You're telling me Mr. Fun Guy wasn't the most serious weapon you've ever encountered?
Yeah,
Mr. Fun Guy.
Fun
guy.
I was thinking. I always loved Mr. Zircon, the Zircon family. But I was like, oh, there's no Mr. Zircon weapon, but then Mr. Fun Guy and what's it? Fun when you upgrade it, it's Fun Gal, Fungil. It's spelled fungal, but it's Fun Gal.
Yeah, Mrs. Fun. Well, no, yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I think it's like Mrs. Fungal, exactly, but it's spelled Fun Gal, or
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. It was good. That was a good touch there. Do you have a favorite weapon in this game that comes to mind?
Well, I was surprised with how much I enjoyed like the first weapon you get, which is the burst pistol. That one I really liked because it was like semi-automatic. It was just very satisfying to use, and as you upgraded it, it got like a spread shot. Like it started off with 1 shot, and then it ended up with like 3, all shooting at once. So I did like that one. But as far as like an overall favorite, it's really hard to choose. The Black Hole Storm was really cool. It was like a Gatling gun.
The Gatling
had like
gun?
400 shots.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also thought the lightning rod was pretty cool. So that was like almost like it was similar to the burst pistol, and that was like I don't know, like a semi-auto type gun, but it like could chain electric, between enemies and shock them. So that was cool. And then I think one more I'll mention that we could talk about others, but I have always loved. I guess I say always like it's been around for a while. I think since the 2016 game. But the pixelizer is really satisfying to use.
Yeah.
So and if you pre-ordered it, you got early access to it because you normally wouldn't be able to get it until like challenge mode.
I guess it.
So I really like
the
pixelizer.
I know you don't get it at the start, but I don't know. I know in the 2016 Ratchet you get it in challenge mode, but I think you actually get the pixelizer earlier in this game. There's other stuff you get in challenge mode. I might be wrong, but. I know you definitely didn't get it at the beginning of the game.
The one other thing that you definitely get in challenge mode is the bouncer.
Yep.
Which I remember from other games, and I haven't played through all of challenge mode yet. I just played through enough to get that weapon for the trophy. But yeah, I remember. I thought that's where you got the pixelizer too, but maybe not. But yeah, I really like that gun. It's really fun, and obviously it makes it you hit the enemy and it like retro, pixelizes them, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's got a super satisfying sound, and
oh yeah, it's great.
I like it a lot.
Fun fact on the 2016 Ratchet when they added the pixelizer, the devs said that like that was like the most graphically intensive thing in their game was getting the things to pixelize, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun weapons in the game, like always. My favorite weapon is kind of boring. I really like the Peacemaker. I've always liked the Peacemaker.
Oh yeah.
But what I really liked was there's a weapon called the Cold Snap in this game, and you could like freeze enemies, and then if you shot them, like I like to throw out a Cold Snap and then use the Peacemaker. Like that combo does like so much damage. When you're fighting like the bosses in like the arena modes, if you do that, their health is just going down in chunks. Like it's super good. I like
the Peacemaker the rocket launcher.
Yes.
One.
That's like the upgraded name.
Okay.
Or is it the upgraded name? I can't remember. In one of the games, it's called,
I have it listed as Warmonger in this game.
Yeah, I think the Peacemaker's like the level 5.
The rocket launcher, but maybe.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, all the weapons change names at level 5, I think. And I also didn't play all the way through challenge mode, but I think you can level up to like level 10 in challenge mode. I don't know if they get another name change or another functionality changes, but
I think they just get the Omega moniker like in front of their name. Yeah,
Gotcha.
like you buy the Omega versions, and I think you can level those up to 5.
Yeah.
So so it's like 10 levels total.
I like the I forgot it's called, the topiary something. The topiary.
Topiary sprinkler.
Yeah. So, one thing I was kind of sad. I tried it multiple times to like topiary sprinkler someone because they turned into like a plant, and then use the pixelizer on that to like turn into like a pixelized plant, but it just like breaks. It's like, okay, now they're just pixels. They're not like topiary pixels.
Right.
But topiary sprinkler weapons like that are some of my favorite in Ratchet games. Like when there's a big like obvious big fight sequence, and I know I'm just gonna like use all my ammo. My favorite thing to do is just to throw all of my like passive weapons into the arena like a madman. Yeah. And then just run around with a rocket launcher, and everything around me is just in mayhem. They're all screaming in pain. Yeah. And I'm just destroying everything. Yeah. It's really fun. Yep. I do that in Spider-Man 2, which is another Insomniac game. Sometimes I would just shoot out all of my weird passive things. Because they have the same weapon wields.
Yeah, no strategy whatsoever.
That's another thing. This guy's going to get hit with everything. But yeah. Now, I don't know about you, but while like the weapons were fun in this game, but I don't know if they were more fun than normal per se. Like I feel like they were just fun as expected. I guess wasn't anything special really. Obviously, there's some highlights, but I don't know if it was like the best weapons collection ever in Ratchet and Clank games.
No, I actually like. I think these games, it's not hard to entertain me, but I do agree that they're. I don't know. I think it's just like like Pokemon, for example. It's gonna get harder and harder to innovate stuff as you keep making games. Like it's gonna be harder for them to come up with new made-up creatures, and there's already like 1,000 of them. So like I can't blame them for that. And they did bring back some classics, like the Buzz Blades. I was going to mention that one. That everyone's like those. But one that stood out for me that was definitely a new one was the Negatron Collider. I don't know if you remember that one. Shoots like a big old laser. You charge it up and it shoots a big old laser. Yeah. And then when it upgrades, when you fully upgrade it, it like the end of the laser like explodes. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, that was a standout for me. And then there was more of like the glove type weapons than I expected there to be. Like there was a lot of those. But there was nothing that like blew me away. But so there's nothing that blew me away. But I just think that's because we've seen a lot of creativity from them, and like there's been a lot of Ratchet and Clank games. So, but I think they still hit the mark when it came to gameplay, obviously, and just all the other things that make these games great. It was still a really really good time. Still lots of variety. I would say.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like I didn't mean to like hold anything against it because I know they still did a good job of bringing fun new weapons in. But that's a good point. Like. It's actually kind of sad also, the more and more games I play in my life, the harder it's going to be for people to like impress me with things. Because like they'll make like Ratchet, this game, like it's an amazing game, lots of fun weapons, and I was like, they've already done that before. Like it's harder and harder, like in Pokemon too. Like I love Pokemon, but like I still have my favorites from like 2 decades ago. That's gonna be hard to. There's some standouts like Beware, obviously. Well,
that's why I'm so excited about. Yeah, well, and that's why I'm so excited about the Diamond and Pearl remakes. That's my favorite generation of Pokemon. So, it's unfortunate, but it's just kind of the nature of things. More people are playing games now than ever, and there are more companies making games, and there's so much backlog, so much history of things. So there's gonna be repeats and rehashes of things.
Yeah. You think? I think Ratchet would be a good Pokemon. I think a Lombax would be a cool Pokemon if they ever decide to go that route.
So now he's like a wild animal.
Yes, he's a wild animal. He's lower than he used to be. But yeah, it's like this game. It had, it was a new PS5 game, and they had some new ideas that were good. They were fun, but like it was at the core, it's like it was a Ratchet and Clank game. Like, so if you like Ratchet and Clank games, like I love this game because I love Ratchet and Clank games. But I don't think it was like it was like popcorn. It was or like a junk food, I guess. It's like it is exactly what it always been, and it wasn't going to surprise me, really. You know, it wasn't like a I don't know how to explain this, but I knew what I was getting into going into it without playing the game.
Right.
And that's both a positive and a negative thing, obviously. But I think it was I really enjoyed it. Some of the new gameplay stuff that I was talking about were like those rifts, the rift from the title, Rift Apart. When you're the classic gunplay of the game that was there in full force, but now they had those cool rifts that they had in the arenas where you could like teleport around the battle arenas. That put a good like.
I wish they had done that a little bit more. They didn't have that as much as I thought they would.
That's what I was going to get to. I was going to say because while it was a fun addition to the game and it made me think about the fights a little bit more and it was fun. I feel like they were just kind of unceremoniously just placed in some of the fights, just in like different corners. It was like there's no real strategy other than like, okay, I want to get to the other side real quick. So I don't know. It still was at its core just a Ratchet and Clank game with a couple new fun mechanics. How did you feel about the dash? Like the fact you could dash now? Because normally with Ratchet you're just strafing and jumping, like doing the strafe double jump to dodge. Stuff like that, but now they added a whole new button to push with the dash. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it felt pretty natural to, I think, what was it, with circle, that's what you press to do that, and I liked the addition of it. I played other games, I know you just played Returnal, and that's probably a really, good experience, or good, callback to that.
Yep.
But yeah, I thought it was good. It made the gameplay feel faster and, more hectic. It was fun. And we can probably talk about this a little bit more later. While I enjoyed the game a lot too, and I have all this history with Ratchet and Clank, so it's, like you said, just like junk food for me. I played on, and I'm gonna sound like such a noob, but I played on like the step up above like the normal default difficulty, and it was pretty challenging in some parts. And even with the dash and the added just mobility and responsiveness of it being on a PS5, and it's like some of the best gameplay you can get. I was definitely some frustration for me in like some of the battle arena stuff, and so like even with the added mobility, I felt like it got very, very hectic at times. Like it was just the definition of bullet hell sometimes, like all around me.
Yeah.
But I did like the addition of the dash for sure.
Sometimes those battle arenas, it felt like you had like, it went from feeling like with Ratchet like, oh, I have 100 health, to turning into like a Nintendo game, like I have 3 hits, because sometimes you were taking like 30 damage at a time, and you wouldn't get health back.
Yep.
So the giant health bar of 100 health or whatever you had, 90 health, it felt more like 1, 2, and 3 health, because you were taking such big chunks sometimes.
I agree.
That's where the harder difficulty came from, I think, because while, like you're right, it was kind of like a bullet hell, like you're getting shot from behind and in front of you, and you're dodging all left and right willy nilly. But the second you mess up, it was a severe punishment. Like, you want to
absolutely.
It was a big chunk of your health.
And it was also like whether you're Ratchet or Rivet, like they'd like flop on the ground for like a second.
Oh my gosh, they lay there,
that was frustrating. Like every time you got hit,
they're like just standing above you, like looking down at you, just like, and you're just like, well, I'll just wait here for a minute, and then I'll. Yeah, it was, gosh.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you brought up Returnal, and it's a interesting. I know you haven't had a chance to play Returnal yet, but that was the game I played just before Ratchet on the PlayStation, and they're pretty similar games when I think about it, because both games the primary gameplay is running around, jumping, dashing, and shooting in third person. And they're both kind of bullet helly. Returnal's obviously, I would say, a more difficult game. But Returnal also had I feel like it had a more satisfying dash. The dash was faster, and it felt more, I don't want to say predictable because Ratchet wasn't unpredictable, but I feel like in Ratchet it was kind of slow. It kind of felt like jarring. Like you feel like everything's moving fast, and then you like slowly dash over here.
Yeah.
So in my personal experience,
I think you do get the iframes though in it.
You
so
do. Yeah, you do get the
yeah.
iframes. So it's still useful, but my personal experience coming from playing Returnal, where that dash was so clean and well done, it felt kind of jarring for the dash to be kind of slower. And I mean, I would still rather it be there than not, because it definitely improved the gameplay and gave you more options, which is always better. But I hope if they continue that mechanic, maybe they'll refine the dash a little bit more. Make it a little more snappy,
honestly, I think you hit it. Yeah, you definitely hit it like just a little bit quicker. That's what they needed, and I think that would make it like just fine.
Yeah, and it did that weird thing like you like multiple like iterations of you are going, and like it wasn't like a smooth dash. It was like I could see each individual like version of me. Like it felt really clunky, kind of. But it was. I mean,
and I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get it. This game, it's not. It's hard. This game has an audience. They've got to hit a wider band of people. This isn't like a kids game or an adult game. They've got to get, like with Eternal, it's a more. I would say it's a more adult-focused game, so they can have these like more intimidating combat sequences with this fast dash and this bullet hell. They still had to like rely on like a younger audience that'll probably play this game. So they had a nice slow dash. You can see where you're going, control it. So that's just my personal what I would like is a faster dash, but I get that maybe that would be kind of jarring the other direction for some other people who weren't experiencing something like that.
Honestly, I'm pretty sure there were a couple times where in Ratchet, because of how slow the dash was, you could like kind of move with it like as you used it. Yeah. And I definitely like went off cliffs and stuff like because of that.
I would say I died 50 times in this game or whatever, 40 of them were falling off cliffs. And whether it was in a combat sequence or just like a random platforming sequence or sometimes I would do like the like I don't know if it was like a lack of invisible walls or like maybe they just like put too much emphasis on a certain thing. I would be like, oh, I can definitely get to that platform over there, and I would do some crazy jump and like land on another platform and then like jump for it and I just die. But the good thing, falling off a cliff or dying wasn't super punishing in this game, so it's not not supposed to be. But
right.
Another new gameplay thing that I wish they had more of. Speaking of the rifts, is those challenge rifts that you'd find in each. I guess each main world had a couple of them, and you always got like a reward.
Those were awesome. Yeah,
they were super cool. They're like little bite-sized, like focused on one part of your platforming, and they were like they weren't like super white knuckle difficult, but they were definitely they were challenging. They were a challenge rift, and I enjoyed them. But there was only
for sure
10 of them maybe, and they were all some of them you get done in like 30 seconds, so it was kind of underwhelming. I think that's just like the theme of this game though, is like there's so much good stuff, but it almost felt like a brunch rather than a full big lunch. It was like I was just kind of like tasting stuff rather than like sitting down and having a big meal. Like I wanted like
and
go on.
Sorry, but Ratchet games have never been like the longest games, but this one in particular, I guess maybe because I'm older and it just didn't take me as long. But I could have played that game for twice as much time as what I ended up playing it. So, and I'm gonna go back and play it, and play challenge mode. I was gonna mention that I played on the higher difficulty, and I think I'm gonna go back and play on like the default difficulty, but in challenge mode, and I'm sure it's gonna be a blast. So I'm looking forward to doing that when I free up some time in my gaming backlog.
Yeah, and I mean, as I've started playing more and more games and I've gotten older, I actually do like to have some shorter games in there because I can actually, like I'm playing through Dragon Quest XI right now, and I love that game to death, but it's so long to do everything that it's preventing me from playing other stuff. As with Ratchet, I got it on a Friday and I played like the whole weekend, and I beat the game, and I loved every second of it. And it's also easier to go back and play some of these games. Like when I beat Dragon Quest 11, I don't know if I'll ever go back and play that game again, especially to its completion. But with Ratchet, like you said, going and playing a challenge mode run, I could just do that one weekend if I decided to. And I would probably enjoy the hell out of it. But yeah, like...
Yeah. No, and I'm going to do that for sure.
Yeah, like the... I guess that's how I should look at it. Rather than wanting more out of the game, I should just look at it as I can go back and play this in a year with as like a palate cleanser. Like I'm new, like a refresh. Like I don't remember everything about it. I can go play it again, re-experience some of the levels, some of the stuff.
Yeah.
So I do like that it was saying I like that it was a shorter game is weird, but I'm not against it being a shorter game, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Let's see. The
I was going to mention it when you had it on screen, but as far as new gameplay elements are concerned, the glitch, like virus, like little segments where you're running around as like the little robot thing, and those were pretty fun. I thought that was a good time.
I thought those were fun. Sometimes on like the later glitch ones, I would get like lost and I'd end up like wandering upside down for like a couple of minutes, and I would get a little frustrated. But overall, I think the glitch things were definitely a welcome addition. And there were some story-based ones, but most of them were optional. So like it wasn't, you don't have to do it.
Right.
But yeah, those were a lot of fun. It's almost like a completely different game. Like it's like you're like a little tank. It was pretty fun.
Right.
And there's
with your little tank turrets.
There's good. The other, as far as other gameplay modes, there was the Clank stuff. Clank always has like a different gameplay, or at least it seems in the past few games, he's like a different gameplay gimmick, like more puzzle based. And I don't know how I feel about like pretty much in every Ratchet game I play with the Clank puzzles. I like the ideas; they're always smart. But then towards the end of the game, I just want to play as Ratchet. Like I feel like sometimes they're a little bit too long, where I can appreciate the well thought out puzzle, but I want it to be like half as long sometimes. So, but I think it did give you the option to like
I feel
skip
that
in this game. Like you could like solve the puzzle for me.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could do that, but something in my brain wouldn't let me. It was like, no, you have to do it.
Not the first time through. Maybe when I go back and play it on challenge mode, I'll just skip them. But not the first time through. I gotta do it at least once.
That's the tedious thing about it is, say like in a game, like this is going to be quite a stretch, like in Picross, when you figure out the puzzle, like what you need to do, you do it, done. You're instantly rewarded. In this one, when I figure out the puzzle, it's like, okay, we're going to run over there for 20 seconds. And I would like run over there and I do this one thing and it's like, run back over there for 10 seconds and you run over there. And like, I know I've already solved it, but I'm like almost being punished by having to perform it now. And I don't know how you fix that other than just like making Clank faster, but I still think they were fun, well thought out puzzles, and they did make me think a little bit on the later ones, which is typically how they go. The first like introductory ones are pretty simple, and then the last ones make you think a little bit more, which is always welcome.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the?
You want to talk about the Rhino?
Oh yeah, I was gonna get to the Rhino now, but now that you in a little bit, but now that you brought it up, we can talk about it. What did you think of the Rhino in this game?
I mean, it was pretty cool. I didn't see anything before the game launched, so I had no idea if it was going to be a more traditional, like, rocket launcher, cross machine gun, just shooting a bunch of rockets all at once and playing, the symphony, the classical music, which I love that. But it was a totally different feel to the weapon, It was a totally different feel because it was, it opened up a portal and dropped a random thing from gaming history, possibly on your enemy, and it was super powerful. So it was cool. It was very satisfying. It didn't have many shots, but I could always go back and play through with like infinite ammo and really have fun with it. So
that was
it was fun.
It was weird for me with the Rhino because, like you said, I was expecting also like in Ratchet 2016. The Rhino was an absolute monster. It was just a Gatling gun that killed everything instantly. Like last boss, you would kill him before he's like done with his dialogue, and you had to like wait for him to finish his dialogue. Yeah. In this game, it's not quite as dominant, but it's still really good. But there was some cool Easter eggs. Have you seen all the things that can come out of the Rhino in this game?
I've looked it up since. Yeah, I mean, I didn't try to get them all myself. I just went and looked it up. But yeah.
Yeah. So there's like Sly Cooper, the Sly Cooper van, Jak and Daxter. I think there's some Horizon Zero Dawn stuff. I don't remember seeing that one, but I think there's something with Horizon. And then there's stuff from just like Ratchet's history. The first shot I shot out of the Rhino, it spawned. I forget what it's called. It's from Crack in Time. It's that big green thing you fight in the arena. It's like a big giant green monster. It was like a boss.
Oh, it's like a...
You fight it multiple times in Ratchet and Clank. I can't remember what it's called. But when I shot it and that thing came out, I thought that was the weapon. Like it summoned one of those. And I thought it was just going to go destroy everything. But it was still cool. A weird thing about that, though, the day before this game launched, Insomniac just tweeted a picture of Sly Cooper, like in the Ratchet game, just like standing there, and I was like, "What? Like what's going on here?" And I was like, the whole game, I was like, "When does Sly Cooper show up?" And then it was through this weapon, just as an Easter egg.
Yeah.
But I was floored. I was like, is this a Sly Cooper crossover? Is he going to show up in a rift somewhere and you play as him?
Yeah. Well, they did kind of reference him when you're getting those like lore things on that one planet, and like the audio books.
Yeah.
The Lorbs. There we go. Yeah. The lore orbs.
The lore orbs.
Yeah, they do reference like other Sony properties.
Yeah.
The orbs. Yes.
I think that was fun. That was a fun way to do it. Since I like games and movies where they have these like excuses, like the space time, where they can just like say things that are not related and they don't make any sense to be involved, but they can just like, oh, space time. Yeah. That's why the multiverse. I can say these things. Yeah. So that's always fun. It's an easy way to get Easter eggs, like fan service. Let's see. Here's a fun question. So going into this game, there was a lot of emphasis on like the going between the rifts, like going from like one planet to a next seamlessly using the high-powered capability of the PlayStation 5 SSD. So like it would like load in another planet instantly. Do you think that was like a little, like I thought that was gonna be happening all the time. I think it happened in a couple boss fights and a couple big cinematic things, but it wasn't like it was happening in regular gameplay. And it was pretty scripted too.
Yeah.
Like, I got the impression it would be like kind of unscripted, but it was definitely like scripted.
Yeah.
Like you could tell me that it loaded in that planet, but like maybe it just didn't, and you just like I don't
Right.
Do you think that was a little overhyped at all?
Despite that, which probably when you put it like that, because there were specific boss fights where you would be like intentionally teleported to different planets, but you're isolated to a certain part of that planet, and then you get brought back. Yeah. But there were other ways that this game like really impressed me outside of like those kind of more cinematic scripted fights. With you mentioned the like little challenge, like pocket dimensions. I thought it was just so cool, like seeing like the way like it would just, you'd walk through that and you'd just be in a totally different environment. Like it was so cool how it would load it. Yeah. And then I just had it. There was 2 or 3 planets where you like hit this like crystal thing, and it literally like teleports you to another dimension, like a different version of that planet in another dimension, and it changed the whole thing like that. that was incredible.
Yeah.
There was one time, it only happened once, where I did that and it like didn't load everything in, and it looked really goofy. And I just hit the crystal a couple more times and like fixed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was incredible.
That was super,
when I first came across that.
That was super impressive.
So.
I remember the first time. I think we were on voice chat, and I was like telling you, I was trying to hint at you to go to that planet because I wanted to see your reaction. I remember my reaction was like it was kind of at the end of the night, and I was kind of like starting to fall asleep, and then I hit that thing, and I was like, oh my, did it just like load? Like, did it just completely load the level instantaneously? And it wasn't it was instant. It wasn't like you hit it and like it kind of lags for a second. No, it was instant. The whole level changed.
Yeah.
That was super impressive.
Yeah. So if you say maybe the like the cinematic stuff, the stuff they really showed off in the trailers, like that was probably a little overhyped, but they made up for it when they did those planets.
That's a good point.
Like, that was
That's a good
nuts.
point.
That
was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be cool if they could just start playing with that gameplay concept in future games. Like maybe they make like a really big, just like time travel base. I know they had Crack in Time that was like time based, but like do something where that you could have that as like an item, just like all the planets you do that with, and like all of them are designed like that.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess you're right. That did impress me. And then I guess if we're just talking about things that impress us, the game itself was beautiful. I played on the 4K 30, like the fidelity mode. I thought about playing like the normally when I get a choice, I pick frame rate because, like, for example, on Final Fantasy, that game is already so beautiful that like the 4K just didn't, like that extra jump to 4K didn't really make that much of a difference for me. I preferred the 60 frames.
Yeah.
And then another example where I picked 60 frames was Demon Souls. I think that game had some problems with their fidelity mode that they were like not addressing because they said it was like 4K 30. That was definitely like 4K 3. I don't know what was going on.
It was bad.
It didn't even look as good as the performance mode. I have no idea what was going on with it.
It didn't. It had some serious issues.
Yeah. So I guess the point I'm trying to get to
is... that's another game that didn't really need it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you with my stupid delay.
The time vortex is a challenge, but we're doing okay. That game, I felt like I had to do 60 frames. This game, I tried both, and when I played like the 4K 30 mode, it still felt pretty smooth. Like I didn't feel like I was being choppy or anything. Like if you see the gameplay on the screen here, this was all in the 4K 30 mode, and it felt good, and it looked beautiful. I told myself I would switch to 60 whenever I felt the need to, and I never changed it. I kept it on fidelity the whole time.
No, and I'm going to. Same here. I kept it on, the pretty mode, and I'm glad I did because this is like hands down. I mean, it's the most beautiful game I've ever seen. Like it is absolutely incredible. And then the stuff they did with the load times, it is nuts. And what's crazy is that they are consistent about this now because Ratchet and Clank 2016 also looked very, very good.
Yep.
But this is somehow they stepped it up. Incredible. Like I really didn't feel any issues with the 30 frames per second. This is not like this isn't Counter-Strike or something. We don't need that super high level of precision. So it was great.
Yeah, everyone always says Ratchet and Clank is like looking more and more like a Pixar movie. Like the quality of the animation, and I tend to agree.
I think it surpassed it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it was, I can't remember if I mentioned this on the Final Fantasy Spoilercast or just something, or just us talking in general, but like Final Fantasy VII Intergrade came out like a day before this game, and for different reasons, both those games are probably the most visually impressive things I've ever seen. While Final Fantasy has some of the best character models and is a just absolutely gorgeous game, Ratchet has... Well, Final Fantasy is a fantasy game, obviously, but this is like Ratchet's more of like a fantastical, like, there's lots of vibrant colors and a bunch of crazy stuff going on, so it's a little more impactful with how good it looks rather than Final Fantasy. There's a lot of times you're in like muddier tones or like blue, like all the, like the lab areas, like blues and greens, are really heavy. But Ratchet, like there's colors everywhere, all over the screen constantly, and everything's super vibrant.
Yep.
So I think if I had to pick which one is more visually impressive, I would give just a half step to Ratchet. So I guess it is the most visually impressive game I've played so far. So far, it really was really fun and pretty.
Yeah, and I know there's not a ton of PS5 exclusives, but the ones that we have, they're pretty strong. Demon Souls, Final Fantasy VII, Intergrade, Remake Intergrade, and now this, pretty strong on the the visuals, of course, and then just the overall quality of the game. So, yeah, this one continues to impress.
I'm looking at my my PS5 games, and like each one keeps impressing me with the visuals. Like Demon Souls is the first time I turned on my PS5, it was Demon Souls, and I was floored with how pretty that game looked. And like the draw distance in like the first level, you could see like miles and miles away, and it still looked good.
Oh, for sure.
And I was like, oh, this will be the best looking game on the PlayStation, like hands down. And it's still amazing, and it's like unbelievable how good it is. And then in like 2 days, they just like, oh, here's 2 more games that look like this. And if they just keep, I can't imagine what God of War is going to look like. It's going to be, I don't even know. It's going to look incredible.
This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, look at like a, launch PS4 games and look at what we're getting at the end. We're getting Ghost of Tsushima, which I was playing on my base PS4, and it was like one of the most incredible things I've seen in my life. And like Last of Us is another example. Last of Us, the character models, they looked like real people, like straight up. And, that was stuff we're getting on the PS4. By the time the PS5 is 5-6 years old, you're going to start seeing some crazy stuff. And
then of course the inevitable PS5 Pro.
Oh yeah. And then
wait till
I'm sure they'll have another Ratchet game by then, and I'll be able to see each individual hair on his body, and it'll just it might just be overwhelming to me.
Just burst into tears.
It's so beautiful.
Just overwhelmed.
It's funny because it's funny how Ratchet keeps looking better and better, and Clank, they're just like, make him a little bit shinier. Like, just a little bit shinier.
Yeah,
like,
that's all he needs.
A nice sheen, wax on, wax off. His character model is so simple that he just kind of looks the same. But he looks very good.
That's okay.
My boy is doing well.
He's really focused on his health. Okay, he's been moisturizing.
Yeah, I think he's taking those fish oil pills, making his skin glow a little more. Let's get a little bit into some of the light story that, I mean, this game's focused on the gameplay, of course, but there was story there. They introduced a couple new characters. They introduced a lot of new characters, but a couple new main characters with Kit and Rivet, or Rivet and Kit. So Rivet is the Ratchet counterpart, and then Kit is the Clank counterpart. And how did you feel about? I would argue you play as Rivet maybe a little bit more than Ratchet.
Yeah, I think you do, and I'm fine with it. Rivet was very honestly, just as likable as Ratchet, but Ratchet has just the history of games behind him. And I always want to stick with my boy. But it was cool, and it was surprising to get to play as another character like that for such a large amount of time. And I imagine Rivet is going to be is going to stick around for the foreseeable future in these games. So yeah, she was just as witty, and the writing's always really good in these games. The goofy jokes and. And obviously the gameplay itself was exactly the same. They did that real convenient thing. It's like, oh, I have the what happened to my inventory? It's like they're linked up with their guns and stuff. So there was nothing that changed there. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, she's just as well designed as Ratchet. And just as likable. I would say.
I mean, you could almost make the argument that this was a Rivet and Kit ripped apart. Like that was like. You play as them or maybe not Kit, because you find Kit a little bit later in the story, but Rivet, you play as for, I would say, like a 60-40 split. Yeah, it was cool having Rivet, and obviously, she survives like through the whole story. I thought either they were gonna like go back in their own timelines or yada yada. I didn't think she was gonna like make it to the end of the game per se. But it looks like they're just going on adventures together now. So I feel like Rivet and Kit will be a staple in the reoccurring characters now going forward.
Right.
Helping Ratchet find the Lombaxes.
Yeah, I don't know if they're necessarily. Yeah, which we can talk about that a little bit, but I don't know if they're necessarily going to do like a standalone like Rivet and Kit. That doesn't really. I don't know. I don't like how that sounds. That doesn't really flow as well. But
or like a spin-off
I think
like
they're going to stick around though. Yeah. I would play it and I would have fun with it.
Of course,
but I'm all about the originals.
Yeah, for sure. Now, before we get into the Lombax thing, I'll just talk about the story in general. I didn't come to this game for the story, but the story was like enjoyable. It was kind of predictable and coincidental and yada yada blah blah blah. But the thing that kept me going through the story was actually I was super invested in wanting to see the parallel universe versions of each character, because it kept like teasing you like, you're going to see this character, which means that maybe you'll see this character. Then towards the end of the game, you finally get to see like the Quark counterpart. And I think you don't see the
Captain Quantum.
Captain Quantum, yeah. You don't see the Dr. Nefarious, like the true, or the is it Emperor Nefarious, or you don't see him for a while. And it keeps teasing you like him showing up, and then you finally see him, and it was really cool to see everyone again in new representations. And they have similar what do you call it? Similar. Why am I drawing such a blank here? They acted the same, but they had like
mannerisms.
Mannerisms, sure. Captain Quantum was like evil, like Quark was kind of evil, and they were all like bizarro forms of each other. Like they acted the same, but they were just slightly different, which I liked. You could like recognize it was that character, but it wasn't like a carbon copy or just a complete opposite. It was like just it was literally like if that character grew a different life in a different planet, rather than it's the opposite of that character or it's the same character. So I thought it was well done.
Right. Yeah, me too.
So as far as the overarching Ratchet and Clank story, this game was a sequel to is it Into the Nexus on PS3? Very late PS3, like after the PS4 came out. And that was the last game in the, I guess it was called the Future series, Ratchet and Clank Future. And one thing that's been a theme in these games is Ratchet finding the Lombaxes, or like going back to where the Lombaxes are. And they get a little bit more into that in this game. They kind of explain what happened to them. You get like, with those Lorbs, you get to like hear some audio logs of like why they left and where they're at. And they're all spread out across the galaxy. And one of the internal conflicts that, I'm talking about internal conflicts of the Ratchet game, Ratchet is dealing with is like, he doesn't know if it's like responsible to use the Dimensionator to like go find the Lombaxes, because he's afraid of like what could happen. Like this whole game happened because the Dimensionator was brought back. Like everything, the game starts with them like winning and they're being celebrated, and then Nefarious gets a hold of the Dimensionator and they blah blah blah. So he's always struggling with whether it's responsible to go find the Lombaxes, and he's like tentative he didn't want to, but at the end of the game it kind of hints like maybe they are going to go look for the Lombaxes. They're going to, him and Rivet are going to go find his their people, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I took from it. And like you said, Ratchet and Clank games, the story is not what you're really there for, but I think that is the biggest, from a story perspective, that is the biggest draw for me, because, from the beginning, Ratchet's been like by himself, and I think there's been a couple of Lombaxes along the way, that they've introduced, like some in the future series, and I think there was one in one of the older games. Yeah, there was one in the game before him. Yeah. I can't remember. But yeah, so that's always been a point of interest for me, and I honestly was surprised they didn't explore it more in this game. I guess that's just not what they were going for, but I would be like pretty shocked if the next game isn't like much more about that, because they really did. From my perspective, I think they really set that up, to look into that in the next game. So
what's a funny thought I just had about Ratchet. He's always like he's like the last Lombax. Everyone's like, oh my god, are you a Lombax? Like, and I think my reaction to seeing a unique, one of a kind creature wouldn't be, oh, are you the last Lombax? So it would be, what are you? Why have I never seen anything that looks like you? But everyone's like, oh, he's the last Lombax.
That's a really good point.
It's like, no, that's just a thing you've never seen before ever. Why do you? I mean, maybe you've heard about Lombaxes, but everyone knows that like, Ratchet's the last Lombax. I think more people should just be confused as to what he actually is. Yeah, well, and I guess that kind of just points to how important they were, I guess, and maybe it's just they're kind of like legendary almost, like this highly advanced civilization. Yeah, I feel like Ratchet's not that old, so maybe I was digging into that too much. Maybe it was a recent event, so maybe. But I just always thought it was funny how everyone just reacts like, oh, you're a Lombax. They immediately know he's a Lombax, rather than like just this weird space cat. But I guess
right. Yeah.
Let's see. You have any other hard-hitting thoughts here on the story? You want to talk about the character development?
I mean,
nothing. How the motivations and really,
I don't think we need to go into that, but I mean, it was your pretty classic, Ratchet and Clank story, but with the added twist of the parallel dimensions, and nothing to write home about, but still, it was what it needed to be, obviously, for a game like this. And not much else to mention. One thing that I guess this is more of a gameplay wish. I wished we had more of the ship combat, sequences. We didn't have any of those. We just had like those kind of poorly controlled. What was her name? What was the name of the little like dinosaur thing you're flying on? Do you remember?
I think it was Reptar. No, I forget her name. But yeah, those were so like. That's a good point. I kind of just like took that out of my memory because that was probably the worst part of the game. Like, she was like weirdly poorly controlled, and she would like clip through things, and like the landing was weird, and that was a very strange segment that I kind of just purged from my memory. So thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome. But I do remember in past games, and maybe you can help me remember, but there was definitely like one or two or maybe more where you could like fly in between planets, and there'd be combat in between. I thought that was a really cool kind of extended the game a little bit, but we didn't get really any of that in this game. So that kind of interplanetary travel, and instead of just loading from one planet to the next, it was a little bit more engaging in past games. So it's too bad that we didn't get more of that.
That's a good point. I was thinking about whether or not this is my favorite Ratchet game, and while this game might have the best overall like gunplay and the best graphics, yada yada yada, Crack in Time had that like space combat you were just mentioning. Like, it was like space exploration where you could like customize your ship, you could fly around different planets, you could you had like random encounters with like other spaceships behind you. I think just having that element to that game puts it personally a little bit above this game. If this game had that, I don't see why they don't do that. I guess it's just easier just to make level based. It's a whole different thing to add the space combat thing in. But I loved that in Crack in Time. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, you even had some space boss battles.
I would like to see it make a return. Yeah, for sure. I think maybe like just because of how they set up the story, everything was kind of frantic and falling apart. So like Ratchet have his usual ship, and they were just kind of jumping from one thing to the next, to solve these problems. There wasn't a lot of like downtime, I guess.
I guess that's true.
You could with the gold bolts. I think you could change the color of the ship, but yeah. So I could see why maybe they didn't include it, but yeah, maybe we'll see a return in upcoming games. Who knows?
You brought up something I forgot to mention. The gold bolts in this game were really cool. They had cheats for like each successive gold bolt you got would get you another cheat. I really liked that. My favorite cheat was the one that made the game like an RPG. When you shot people, like numbers would come out. That was so cool.
Yeah.
I don't even know if the numbers made sense,
man.
or if it was just
that
like
was
random
such a cool
numbers.
addition.
But I just loved it regardless.
Probably not.
It was really cool. And I also
yeah.
I used the one where all the bolts were turned into generic shiny gemstones that aren't rupees.
Rubies.
Rubies.
Not rupees.
Yeah.
Rubies.
Yeah, but they were conveniently like the different rupee colors, like specifically like all of them.
Yeah.
Like the green, blue, red, purple.
I really like
gold. You can see them here. It's just like all the rupee colors.
Yeah, I really like the orbs instead of like there was like cans of like energy drink and then coins. The coins were cool. I really liked the orbs though. That's why I stuck with like the whole game. Yeah. Those were fun.
And then you could customize Ratchet's wrench. The wrench is such a funny thing in this game. I feel like the wrench is taking more and more of a back seat every game. Every once in a while they're like, oh hey, twist this thing here with your wrench. Like, why does this guy have this mechanism for his door? Like, who uses this but me? Like, but and like, I rarely use melee combat in this game. I feel like every game's a little bit less. And I thought it was funny. Yeah. In other games, it's pretty important to like throw your wrench as like a projectile, whether it be for like puzzles or combat. And this game, I think it was like 3/4 through the game, they're like, press L2 and square to throw the wrench. I'm like, have I not had to do this yet? Like, what? Has it been this long? I haven't had to do this?
Yeah. No, there were definitely multiple times where it was like it would randomly give you like a tip or like a how to do something. It's like I've been doing it the whole time, or I never need to do that. Why are you telling me right now?
Press the cross button in the air to double jump. Sense. It's like, thank you. Notice I said cross and not X because I'm with
now I know
the deep PlayStation.
Yeah, well, I'm not. No, well, it's whatever we want it to be, and it's the X button.
Yeah,
okay?
That's
it's
fair.
The X button.
That's fair.
I will not be budged on that.
Let's get into a quick concept. Talk about the X button and why every console has the X button in a different spot. What's the deal with that? What's the?
Obviously.
Quick tangent.
Obviously, they're anti-consumer.
They're anti-consumer. Let's just hold up these 3 controllers, and I want to show you that there's an X button in a different spot on each of them. Look at this blasphemous. I don't know. It's awful. I can't find my way.
Yeah, we just need a fourth one now that has it on, I guess, the right side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe that new.
That's what we need now.
The new Steam Pal or whatever it's called, the Steam Deck. What's it called? The
Steam Deck.
Steam Deck.
Steam Deck.
Maybe the X button is on I guess it's the what's left, the top.
It's on the
top.
On the no, the right.
The right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe on the right this time. Fun stuff.
I'll look into that.
Well, now that we're on a conversation about buttons, why ABXY? Why not ABCD? What happened there? Who made that decision, Nintendo?
This is it's a great question.
You have any final thoughts on Ratchet?
These are the important questions. Let me see. Took some overall notes. I think I probably mentioned everything. Overall, the game, very much impressed me. I will be going back to play it at some point. And I feel like I say it a lot, but this one I have always replayed Ratchet games, so like I'll be going back to this for sure and playing on challenge mode on the regular difficulty and just having a good time. So it was great. Yeah.
I was gonna just call it there, but I have one more quick complaint just because I saw it on the screen while you're saying it. I feel like there was good variety.
Wow, you're gonna end it with a complaint?
I'll end it with something nice. But while the bosses were fun and there was good boss variety, the mini bosses, it was like they were making fun of themselves. They were using like the same mini boss over and over and over, but to like make up for that, they had like a funny name. But it was like just like the same generic like big monster man again. But you know what? I think I wasn't too hurt because there was some fun boss battles, and the last boss was kind of cool, I guess. I got to fight a giant Dr. Nefarious.
Yeah.
Overall, this game
it was like second to last, right? Or was that the end? I thought you fought a giant version, then you fought Emperor Nefarious at the very end.
You're right.
That boss was actually kind of frustrating for me.
He was pretty frustrating. I found the best way to beat that guy was just to throw everything I had at him immediately and kill him before he could attack me. That's how I succeeded.
Yes.
So great game. It's currently my very high standard game of the year. It dethroned Resident Evil Village for me. But you know, let's see if that holds up. I held this game pretty high up. I loved it a lot, and I cannot wait to see the inevitable sequel we have on the later in the PS5.
Right, next year.
Maybe. I mean, Insomniac's been cranking them out, man. So yeah, but it's like
they have.
Insomniac's got to work on Spider-Man next. I'm like, oh wait, Spider-Man was awesome. I'm really excited for Spider-Man. And then
can't wait for that now.
And then they're gonna finish. I'm gonna finish Spider-Man. I'm like, they got to work on Ratchet and Clank now. I'm like, oh wait, I love Ratchet and Clank. So, you know, I'm excited. I'm sure Insomniac will continue to impress and keep cranking out those great games.
Cool. Yep, for sure.
Well, thank you, Sir Lumber. You've been very helpful in this conversation. I thought it was fun. And thank you, anyone who is watching. These Spoilercast videos are a lot of fun to talk about games, and anyone who happens to watch these, shout out to you. I appreciate it. And let me know what you thought of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart down below. Well, thank you for watching, and check out you later. Dr. Pepper is one of those drinks like when I pick a soda, I rarely pick Dr. Pepper, and then when I do have a Dr. Pepper, I'm like, oh my god, this is delicious.
It's really good.
Why have I can taste all 23 flavors.
23 flavors.
Alrighty, are you ready?
Oh yeah. Buns and thighs.